Hey there, it's Raya Karen with Roots to Wellness podcast. I am so glad to have you here and share this beautiful space, not only with me, but with the guests that I bring on from time to time. And yeah, so a little about me, I guess. First of all, I am me. And that involves a lot of things. There's a lot of pieces of me. I am a mother to two gorgeous, beautiful, amazing daughters, beautiful souls. I am a daughter myself. I am a sister. I'm the oldest one of three girls. I am an auntie to so many amazing, amazing little ones. I am a healer, an intuitive, an empath, a highly sensitive person, and a guide helping people to heal through the elements of nature with my private practice, Roots to Wellness. We spend time in my office, which is the great outdoors, in the elements of nature, earth, air, fire, and water. And we link arms, and together we go on the journey through healing, growth, change, and the process of evolving into who you are meant to be here on this earth. And empowering each other. That's the biggest thing is sometimes we feel really alone, but we aren't. And together we can navigate and nurture each other. So, welcome to another great podcast, and stay tuned. I have a beautiful guest on for today. And have a great conversation. So I've got Cheryl Kemppainen here, and she is way up northern BC. Right now it's snowing, she tells me. So anyways, we're going to take you guys through kind of like this conversation with us, and let you know why we know each other, how we know each other, and kind of what's happened with life in between amongst the journey of where we've been, what we've been doing, and how we got to where we are now. So welcome, Cheryl. Please let everybody know what you do, the great stuff you're doing right now, and where you're at.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And that's been such a unique experience, actually reconnecting with you, because we did know each other quite young in life, and it's been a while. And then we reconnected. And so
yes,
very interesting how we kind of both took different and yet similar paths. And so I now work as a holistic nutritionist, and I help people heal their guts to manage ongoing illnesses. And in the current climate that we have, it's, a little extra important to put some care into your gut health. And so that's what I do in the online world. And then in the offline world, I do host yoga retreats. And I often do them in very remote, nature-orientated places. And
I love it.
Often incorporate horses into them as well.
Wow. So can you give an idea of to people who are listening where exactly you're located? It's quite remote from what you've shared to me, and it's very beautiful. And you kind of had this really amazing journey just connecting to this place and getting to this place. Because we're from a remote town, but not like where you're at now. It's a little bit different of a landscape.
Yeah. So I left where we grew up in the same place, essentially, and different parts of town, but the same town. And then when I left, I went to university and I started that journey, and then I ended up teaching English overseas, and I went quite far away from my roots. And then I got sick when I was traveling, and the world just brought me back to my roots, but in a slightly different location. And so I was actually teaching in South Korea, and I was very unhappy. I was very sick. And I just said, you know what? When I get the opportunity and the opportunity is right, I'm going to take it and I will leave. And the opportunity came fairly randomly. And somebody asked, do you want to come and cook in the Yukon for a summer? And I said, sure, why not? And so that's what I did. And so I ended up way up north. I'm technically in BC, so I'm just south of the Yukon border, and I
Okay.
neighbor Alaska. So I'm in between, half the year I spend in between the Yukon and Alaska, but technically in BC. And
Mhm.
then the other half of the year, I'm basically just in the same location, just a little bit further to the east, in a place called Adeline.
Wow. I mean, I've heard of it, and I've heard, pardon me, I've heard it's incredibly beautiful up there too as well.
It is. It's
Coffee going down the wrong way. Oh,
it is.
so what kind of like climate wise, it would be similar, right? Like you're still experiencing this very prolonged
Yeah.
spring. Like I feel spring is kind of fighting to come in and winter's fighting to hang on. Is that kind of the same for you there as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
it came in like a lamb, like it warmed up and it was really calm and quite warm. And I was like, oh, okay. But I was a little fearful because I was like, oh, like this is early. And
Yeah.
sure enough, it turned, and now winter is just hanging on. It's snowing again today. It's the end of April, and
Yeah.
it's, it hasn't quite turned the corner yet.
Not quite. Not quite. So it's so interesting. So is I also know too in there, like with the work with cooking and things like that. I believe when we were chatting before, you were mentioning you did go to school for culinary school as well, in amongst all of this stuff that you've been doing and traveling and teaching English. Do you find like that was something you were obviously drawn to, which I think now really links into your nutritionist work, right? And like, did you find that you learned more about yourself on that journey too? Because I remember, in our hometown here of Burns Lake, we owned a pub and grill, and I remember chatting with you just as you were finishing school, I believe, just quickly before you traveled up to the Yukon, I think. But do you find that that was a really nice link and great education for you to have for where you're at now, like another tool for your toolbox?
Yes, it is definitely another tool for my toolbox. It took me a long time to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a clear and cut journey. So I've had a couple different
No.
stints. So I was teaching, and then I got tired of teaching, and I was like, I got to do something. And it was just something that I was purely interested in. Like, I like food, I like cooking. I wanted
Yep.
to learn more about it, so I went to school for it. And I worked in that for quite a while, but it's a demanding industry in the sense of
Mhm.
time. And
Yes,
I was
very.
working a lot.
Yeah.
And so I burnt out, and I burnt out
It's
pretty quick.
very high. Yeah, it's very, very high stress, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to show up 110%. It's fast paced, you're on the go. Like and it's almost, we used to look at it very thankless too. You're the
Totally.
hours and the gruel and the passion and purpose that you put into it, you don't really see on the other side in
No,
within the industry. It's different when you kind of go out on your own and you're maybe doing something like you're doing now. It's a very different look, but when you're in that fast-paced industry, it burns out a lot of people.
it
So
does.
you were finding yourself kind of at that kind of rock bottom place with it a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew I had to get out, and I knew that
Mm-hmm.
I needed to shift out further. And so I actually replaced myself. Like, I was managing a catering company, and so I hired my replacement, and I took a trip to South America, and I went for 2.5 or 3 months. I went long enough that I was
Mm-hmm.
going to pull myself out. And that's actually where I ended up picking up a parasite. And I ended up
Oh,
very,
wow.
very, very sick. So it wasn't even an option for me to go back when I did come from my
Okay.
extended vacation, because I was so ill. And that just took a lot of time and a lot of trial and error. And nobody could really help me. And so I had to kind of figure out different things that worked for me, and I had to get out of the
Mm-hmm.
box. So I went to the hospital, I was in the hospital more than once with it. And I
Mm-hmm.
took a lot of the pharmaceuticals that were supposed to help, and they really didn't. And it
Yep.
took a very, very long time for me to figure it out. And it wasn't an easy road. And so that
No.
ties in very, very much into what I do now. So the
Mm-hmm.
food knowledge of cooking, I think, is actually very important, and not a lot of people have it. It's definitely
No.
a skill and a tool that is very, very useful.
Mm-hmm.
And my own experience with it, and then using that cooking experience, I guess, to cook for myself in a healthy way, because I had to totally change
Yeah.
the way I ate in order to heal.
Okay. Okay.
And so it was a lot easier for me to do that with the knowledge that I had than it would have been if
Mhm.
I had no idea what I was doing in the kitchen.
So when you're working with people with, especially gut issues and, even right now we're looking at so much fatigue and burnout and just complete utter exhaustion. So are you able to, I mean, you work virtually, which is awesome. Are you able to like give them some of those skills for cooking and for preparing and all of that kind of stuff? Like you're able to kind of step into their
Yeah.
spaces and kind of teach them that way?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a part
Yeah.
of what we can do together. So what I can do is give you the tools, but you're the one that actually has to
Hmm.
implement it. So
Yes.
that's always the key.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
definitely it is a struggle for people who are, maybe you have a lot of kids, or, you have a demanding job, you don't have a ton of time. And so
Hmm.
learning how to food prep and meal prep can actually be really, really beneficial to you, just because it saves you so much time if
Yes.
you learn how to do it.
Yeah. Well, and it's, time, stress, worry, all of those things. And, when you do have kids, you realize the importance of that. And I think, if anything, even with this time that we've been in the last couple of years, people have had to kind of go within and kind of look at new ways of doing things and new ways of finding balance. A lot of things I'm kind of, looking at and listening to and being a part of now, and we kind of wasn't in the beginning, but is that holistic piece of, wellness. And it's combining this very thing, helping people to meal prep and make better choices, and encouraging them to get out in nature and do some yoga, be with the animals, what connecting all of those things connect right back to our roots, right? We are from nature, we're all energy, we're all connected. And it's starting to really come around now after we've been kind of thrown upside down, and people are really looking to alternative ways of helping to nourish their mind, their body, and their soul. And I think if, like you don't want to put diesel in a gas engine, right? Like, so you want to be able to put in, if what you were doing is not working and you're literally grinding and you're hitting rock bottom and you're exhausted, you can't move, you can't think, you've got brain fog, gut issues. I mean, you just want to park yourself and be done, right?
Totally.
So what so what are you finding, like people are coming to you, what is there, like is there a number one kind of biggest struggle that sticks out for them, or is it kind of a combined thing?
It's mostly a combined thing. Sometimes people don't
Hmm.
understand the combination of things. It's very rarely one thing, especially if you're
Okay.
dealing with a physical illness, especially in our current climate where there is so much added elements to what's going on. So you might have been,
Yes.
the isolation thing. Maybe you're stuck at home, maybe you lost your business. There's so many elements
Hmm.
to what is happening right now that isn't
Hmm.
necessarily just your physical body, that I do
Yep.
believe that has to be accounted for. And so
Hmm.
that's where combining things can be really, really helpful. But a lot of people don't understand, like, if you're feeling anxious and you're feeling a little bit confused and you don't have energy, you might have brain fog. That's all very tied into your gut.
Yes, because the gut is our second brain as well, right?
Yeah.
So you have our thinking brain, but then you have our emotional brain, which is,
Yes.
it goes through a lot of stuff, right? And I think we forget that connection. And you and I are both, very highly sensitive people, empaths, and you as well on your podcast speak with a lot of people in that realm as well. A lot of intuitive, sensitive, people who are dealing it almost is, we're dealing with it really quick, like things are coming at us fast, we're dealing with it, we're doing our own healing because we're also not processing just our own, but we're having all these people come to us that are, they've got all this energy, and because we're energy people, we're learning how to kind of funnel that through us and let it go so we can help them. But it's so interesting because that other brain, that emotional brain, is so fragile.
Mhm.
And it speaks to us, but sometimes it takes us a really long time to listen. Do you think it's fear, but like it's really fearful for people, or is it just like, oh, I'll just ignore it, it'll go away? Like, what do you think is kind of that, why are people waiting so long to ask for that
Perhaps
support and help? Yeah.
a really good question. I think part of it is probably fear. Part of it is that it's not talked about enough.
Hmm.
And part of it is that we just don't know. Why
We don't know. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody yesterday. I was doing an assessment with her, and I was saying like, okay, like your stomach isn't working properly. So if your stomach isn't working properly, then nothing else has a chance, because that's, kind of,
Mm.
that's in the upper part. And so if we support that, then you support it, and then you see kind of what happens after that, because maybe by supporting that one thing, a lot of other stuff falls into place. And so rather than it being some big complex thing where you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on random things, like to do a really targeted, simple approach is a really great way to
Hmm.
start. And I don't think there's common knowledge on that, because it doesn't have
No, but
to be
that's
complex.
no, and the great thing is that's what you're here for, right? And
Yeah.
to be able to open that door and raise some awareness and give people some new things to look at and new skills to put into their toolbox. Because I was chatting with somebody yesterday about our toolboxes, right? Like, they're not a set toolbox. They're kind of a fluid toolbox. Like, you might use some tools today that tomorrow will go over here, and you'll have a new one come in, and you'll learn from somebody. Like, because we, as well as not only being healers ourselves and practitioners, but we also have people we reach out to for help and for
Yeah.
support. So we might be learning new things, and we can share those with our clients. And so it's a really evolving thing. Do you find that as well when you're working
Yeah.
with people, like the tools are always evolving and changing?
Yeah. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
That's one thing I always tell
Hmm.
people. And so if I get a lot of people who have exhausted the Google searches, is what I call them. You've Googled it to an extreme that it's, Google can no longer help you.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
you need someone who can give you a different perspective. But the reason that Google isn't helping you is because your body's uniquely yours. And so
Yes.
you have a unique set of needs, and absolutely you have to use different tools for different people, and it's always growing. And I absolutely have people that help me. I don't have it all
Hmm.
figured out, and I'm not sitting here on the top of some mountain saying, oh, well, just do what I did and you'll be
Yeah.
fine. Everybody is different, and everybody has a unique journey that they need to take. But we start
Hmm.
simple. It doesn't have to be like some massive complex thing where you're spending
No.
thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, it can actually be right simple. And so
Yes.
that's what I like to start with people. Let's try simple first, and then we build from.
Yes. Well, and usually by the time people are coming and asking for help, they're so, like you said, they're Googled out. They have should themselves right into a corner. They've just, they're completely, there's nothing left. That fuel tank is empty, and the gut's not working, the brain's not working, nothing's really working. And they're just like, okay. And when you can simplify it and go, okay, let's just breathe. Let's just
Mhm.
sit. And I know you also use your intuition, and you use your knowing, right? You've healed your gut, you've healed that part of you. So now it's even stronger, and you're using that in your work too. And that's the beautiful thing is we can really connect with the people we're working with,
Mhm.
and just hold this most beautiful space for them where they can just be, they can breathe, be, and then we just start one baby step at a time. Like, I
Yeah.
always look at, climbing that big mountain, we want to get to the top, like we're going to get there, but we have to remember that we're at the bottom, and we're
Yeah.
going to go one little step at a time, and we're going to meander along the way, and we're going to take twists and turns, and eventually we'll find ourselves there, but it's about the journey
Yes.
to get there, right? And
Absolutely.
that's where we come in, and that's where, you know, we can really nurture people. And like you said, just everyone is got their own unique body, their own unique everything. Like we're, you know, we are human, yes, that we have in common, but 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 there are big differences. And I love that kind of stuff too, because I mean, we're supposed to be authentically who we're meant to be here to be, and sometimes it takes a bit of a journey to figure that out. And we're
Absolutely.
not meant to know it right away, right? We're meant
No,
to just keep learning more and more about it as we go along this windy journey of life.
100%. Yes, I would agree with that. And I never thought after I left Burns Lake, I didn't think I was going to come back to a small town. And I'm even a smaller town than what I grew up in. And I
Yes.
never thought
Yeah.
that. And then, you know, you don't know exactly what you're going to wake up to and how the world is going to direct you. And I do believe that
Mm-hmm.
as strange as it may seem and as hard as it may be, that wherever you are, you're having an experience that you need to have in order to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't always, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of
Mm-hmm.
heart, but I do believe that.
Yeah. Well, in our conversation before too, when we were chatting, you were mentioning too about going from like millions and millions of people to then being out in nature with millions of mosquitoes.
Yes.
Can you kind of paint that picture for people? Because you like you said, this opportunity didn't, I mean, it didn't fall out of the sky for you. You put it out into the universe. It kind of, the universe was helping you, but you went from one huge extreme to this other one,
Yeah.
and that's where you really started to heal. And can you describe that? That was really amazing when you shared it before.
Yeah. So, and I was living in Korea. I was living in downtown Seoul, which there's 25 million people there. It's a
A
lot.
lot. Yeah.
And I ended up getting pneumonia when I was there. You know, I wasn't well when I got there. I got off the plane and I was like, oh, I wasn't supposed to be here. But I was like, I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna wait this out until I know. I'm gonna wait until I have a very clear exit out of here. And so I was actually there for 8 or 9 months. I was there for quite a while. But I remember laying, when I got pneumonia, I ended up in the hospital. And this was all before I learned that I really should heal my gut, because that's what that I just kept getting sick. And once I healed my gut and supported myself in that way, I very rarely get sick now. And so I was living there, I was sick, I was in a hospital room. There was a lady dying next to me. And it was just a really odd and yet profound experience. And I remember laying in there thinking, okay, like what is this? And then I got the connection, and I got a phone call of a friend of mine who was like, you know, do you want to come up here? And I said, yes. And I ended up going from downtown Seoul with 25 million people into a remote fishing lodge, fly-in only, in the Yukon. And so
Wow.
there was a lot of mosquitoes and a lot of trees. And there was nature, and I was still healing. And I remember just and I was actually cooking at that time, so the hours I was putting in, you know what that's like. But as I
Oh,
was
yes.
doing that, I was still healing, and I was starting to feel better, and I was starting to have more energy. And I was like, oh, like maybe there's something to your environment that's really important. And for me, maybe it is being back in nature, and back in pretty remote nature. And I now can feel,
Yeah.
so even just going outside of my house, like, you know, before we had this conversation, I was out in the field with the puppy, and I feel so grounded when I do that. And
Yes.
there's just a peace that like, it's an internal peace that comes over me when I'm in that environment. So it is not something that I knew. I didn't know when I left Korea. I was like, yeah, this is what I need. But the universe delivered what I needed.
Yes, it's amazing how it does that. And, you can put these things out there to the universe and it will come to meet you. And I think you were open enough, luckily, to receive that. And you weren't afraid to say, okay, sure, I'll come try that. Like, what do I have to lose? You had nothing to lose and everything to gain. You knew you weren't where you were supposed to be, that you knew.
Yeah.
But so that made you open to
Yes.
this opportunity that came your way, right? And um it's so interesting. Like, nature obviously is a huge thing for me. I'm sitting out here with all these great birds and things, and it's interesting. I don't live on the farm like I used to, but I'm so connected to nature, more so to dogs now than I am to horses. I still love the horses, but I don't do anything with them anymore. But it's this it's this sense of peace and ease and calm that literally like
Mhm.
washes over you, and you just feel like all your worries just
Yes.
go into the earth and you're rejuvenated with the energy. It's like this beautiful, I find, for me, I'm not sure it's the same for you, but this energy exchange, like whatever's not serving you, whatever you don't need, just goes off into the universe, into the elements of nature, whether it's earth that you're walking on, the sun on your face, you're by the water, you're feeling that breeze, the air. And it like resets you. It just gives you this, like, I got this, I can do this, I can do anything, right? Like, it's such an
Yeah.
amazing place to be, right? And I love sharing that with, people I'm in touch with and my clients and new people that come along, and even my friends, like let's just go be.
Yes.
Let's
Yeah,
it's huge, right?
it is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because we also grew up doing competitive horse riding.
Hmm.
And when I also stepped away from that, that's actually a huge part of my journey as well. And I was away from that and when I was traveling and teaching. And then when I came back north and I ended up in nature with all the mosquitoes, I also ended up having horses in my life again. And it was very interesting to come full circle with that because I think there was something
Yeah.
quite deep there for me that needed to be healed. And
Hmm. Yes.
that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, yes.
But now I do not feel the need to ride. I don't feel the need to be training, or I certainly don't want to be competing. But there is something about being in the physical presence of a
Hmm.
horse. And I think you can get the same thing from dogs as well.
Yeah.
That is also very healing and very, very calming.
Well, I love how you were saying too, like with your yoga practices and being out with the horses and animals and things like that, and being able to they have this amazing energy. They're also, I mean, they can't speak to us, but they can, through their
Mm.
body and through their movement and the way they are with us, right? And it's a different kind of exchange than you and I were used to. That's a piece that I'm still working on. It's a pretty deep seated space for me to heal. My parents it was really tough on them that I didn't want to take over the farm. I didn't want to keep competing, but it was so much more than that. It wasn't because it just wasn't me. It was me then. And it got me through many things. It kept me away from many things, maybe bad choices, who knows, in life, but it did fill me then. But the competition is where it really got me, like that adrenal fatigue, that burnout, that anxiety. And, most of that, I shoved it down and I literally just hid it away in a trap box because I didn't want everybody to know that, I was, for one, we did dressage and you had to memorize all those things. We had these tests that we had to do and all this stuff, and pony club. And I had dyslexia and ADD and full blown anxiety and panic attacks. And I had to hide that from everyone.
Yeah.
And that was really freaking hard. And I think now that I look back at it, I mean, I can still feel a little bit of it there. You know, it was really, really hard to enjoy it as much as I would have liked to. When I was really little, I could, because there was no kind of expectation there. The horses were my babysitters. I could just sit amongst them. I could be. But as I got older, it was more of the doing. So, do, 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 do. And we kind of got into this, busyness, nothing wrong with it. We learned a lot from it, but I do see how that has definitely been a part of my body healing, my emotional brain for sure, my guts, my anxiety, my reconnection back to animals in a completely uniquely different way. And my connection to nature too is very different, but I'm glad I had those roots there as a child so that I can understand the importance of it, but it can look different. So yeah, it's interesting because we did, like we had that, we could see each other at this competition state, but I don't think we really knew kind of behind the scenes, kind of what was going on and what we were facing or dealing with. And now here we are very many years later, looking at things through a completely different lens. Right.
Yeah, we are. And I have to say, I had no idea at that time that you were going through that. No. And that's something that, like, thank you for sharing that, for one. And for two, like, how much of a different experience can we have in this life if we're actually able to be in a place to share that?
It's huge, being able to be vulnerable and safe to share that. And I think we're seeing that across so many realms and so many things right now, is the people are starting to be able to be more vulnerable and share these things that most have no idea. We carry this little red wagon around with us that's overflowing and things are falling out, but nobody has any idea what pieces and baggage is in that red wagon, right? It's
Absolutely.
And thank you for letting me share that. We're kind of creating this space for each other, which we create for our clients, but it's interesting to understand and to learn the layers of people. I find that so fascinating in my journey.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And I definitely have similar experience to you with that. Like, it wasn't all roses for me. That's what I'll say. And so it wasn't, I have so much respect for that time in my life. And it, like you said, it taught me so much. It kept me out of so much. It gave me a lot.
Yep. Yes.
And with that, it also, it came with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of family trauma, and a lot of expectations that I felt I had to carry this huge weight around. And to a certain extent, I still do.
Yep. No wonder we can connect quite well. It's very similar, right? Like and this fascinates me because, people you never know why you have this connection with people and why you kind of cross paths, sometimes many times, with people in your life. And I feel like there's just a huge aha right there for the two of us. And I'm going to have to fight back some tears because I never realized that. And I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
So and there we go. Holy geez, you're going to draw that out of me now.
Didn't see that one
but
coming.
You don't. No, but you don't, right? I've got a cat with me now.
Oh, that's good.
Hey, buddy. So it's so fascinating. It's so interesting. He knows. He came running from across the yard as soon as we started having this conversation. But you don't realize those layers. Like, there's so many layers. Like, we all talk about this layer of the onion, and I don't know how damn big this freaking onion is. It's huge. You're just, it's like that 16-lane highway. Like, you just don't realize the depths of the things that everyone carries, the emotional, the physical, all of these things. And when you find a safe place, a safe person, whether it's a reconnect or a new connection, it's like you feel safe to share those things. I mean, I don't just share some of that stuff with anyone, but I know with you and we shared, a space and time, like I said, where we were competing, we were riding, we were training, we were like hardcore digging deep down, and nobody really knew the stuff behind the scenes, right? they didn't know all those other things. And we were so good at presenting ourselves in a way that it felt like maybe we were expected to, right? Which is not right or wrong. It just is what it was. But now we're kind of like literally flip side of that, right? We've gone through this incredible, crazy journey, and it's all linked. And here we find ourselves looking at animals and nature in such a healing, nurturing way. And we've taken all that pressure off.
Yeah.
Right. You can go out and sit in the field, meander with your puppy. You can do some yoga. You can lay there and just look up at the sky and watch the clouds and just be in the presence.
Yes.
And that in itself is so healing, that you've given yourself permission to experience it in this way. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And it wasn't easy.
I bet it wasn't.
It wasn't. There's a lot wrapped up into that. And I actually ended up hosting what my therapist likes to call the horsey things. So I hosted a couple of retreats last summer, which were just being in the presence of horses and feeling the healing vibe of just being with them and touching them. And there's actual studies done they're called heart math studies on what the like electrical current that comes out of a horse's heart has on a human. And it's like 50, 100 feet or something that it reaches out. Like, it's so insane what it can do. That's never something I thought I would be doing.
No.
And yet here I am.
But here you are. But, I think, had you not had that experience growing up, you wouldn't have been open to this. You know what I mean? Like, you knew horses and you weren't afraid of them, and you had these experiences. Then life led you on a different journey, but then life led you back to a new home within yourself, a new home with animals and with nature, right? Like, and I think there's, like I say, whether it's people connections, animal connections, nature, places, whatever it is, it all leads us back to where we need to be, or not need to be, where we are right now, right? It's like this very fluid energy exchange that goes around. And I love that. Like, my dad was not always big into the riding, but he was kind of that horseman. He did all natural treatments with the horses. He did Reiki and massage, and the horses, he'd go out into the herd and they would flock to him,
right?
Because he had that energy. He had no expectation of them other than to love them. But they all came to him, and they'd grab his hat and they'd flip his cowboy hat off, or they'd rub up against him. And you could literally, anywhere he go, and he was always kind of that horse guru, that energy guy, like doing the work we're doing, but doing it with animals, because it was his thing. He was never trained as a veterinarian or any of that kind of stuff. But man, he could read the energy of a horse, and he could say, okay, they've got a back issue right here, or a neck, or an arthritis, or this or that. And then he'd pull in and he'd study all the natural things he could do to heal the horses. And he did use it for himself as well. And that's also why I'm drawn to healing myself holistically and helping others to do it, is because I watched him do that for himself and also for the animals. And so that gift that he showed me through my entire life is another reason why I think I'm really drawn back to my roots, per se. And, why I really went into using Roots to Wellness as my business name and my practice name, because it's me. I feel really, rooted and centered in amongst all of that. And I'm so grateful for that part of the experience. And it just, like you're seeing, the studies, and I mean, it's amazing what is out there. And they're using animal assisted therapy along with the stuff that we're doing. Is the combination of that is just, it's a whole nother level of stuff, right? And you could have somebody with PTSD or anxiety or depression or any of the neurodiversities that we face in this world, and you can watch them make a connection without even realizing it, and it's just beautiful. It's this energetic exchange.
It's
Do you notice that too? Like, yeah. Yeah.
I do. I am so drawn to animals, and I always have been my entire life.
Yeah.
And obviously now we're in a different way than I was when I was younger. I went through some really nasty stuff, and I decided, you know what? I need a puppy. I just got to get a puppy.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense for me to have a puppy right now, but I need a puppy. And she's the best thing that could have happened. She's my therapist. She gets me outside all the time. It's snowing today, and it's, that wet, nasty, windy spring snow. And yet I'm still out there cruising around the hayfield, horses and the puppy. And she brings so much to me on that level. And absolutely, for anybody who's going through, whether it's an emotional trauma or physical illness or anything along those lines, animals are so healing for that. And so, I personally see that, and I absolutely see it in other people as well. And I love incorporating them whenever I can.
It's beautiful. And I love these retreats and things that you're doing. I hope it'd be cool one day. Maybe we're meant to connect on doing something like that together. Like, that would be phenomenal. And, just being able to have that space for people and introducing them and bringing them out there and allowing them to disconnect from this, all these expectations and the busyness of life, and, just allowing people to have a space where they can be and they can nurture and they can breathe, and literally, right. And it's just, and they can let go of all of these things that they're carrying around, this weight that's so heavy, and watch it dissipate as they're in these spaces. Like, it's amazing. I don't know if you've experienced the same, but you literally watch people, they come in and everything's just, and they get out there and it's just like, oh, like you can literally see their blood pressure come down, their heart rate come down. Then, like, okay, like, I get why you guys are doing this. And the animals are very intuitive too. Like, you'll see them kind of come in around people and kind of, watch you. They watch your body language.
They do.
I mean, they use dogs and especially dogs for, people with all different kinds of ailments and diseases and sicknesses and abilities, right? So why would animals not be intuitive just like we are?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, I have the puppy, and then I have the horses, and one of our horses was really sick. And the only reason I knew is because my puppy's name is Lila, and Lila was just following her around, and I kept saying, oh, something is wrong. And then for about a week, I was so concerned about Lila because she had the worst anxiety. She just couldn't calm down, and she was really, really, really anxious. She couldn't sleep. She had this pink ball that she was absolutely obsessed with. And I was like, oh dear Lord, what am I going to do? And then Goldie died. And that, I didn't know that was the problem. And she knew for quite a while that something was really wrong with this horse. But she couldn't tell me, but she was telling me. I just didn't know how to listen.
Yeah.
And so you have experiences like that, and you understand the depth of knowledge that they have. And I think I now know that. She taught me that lesson. And so now I know when she's acting that way, okay, let's go take a closer look at what's going on. And they do teach you things, but you have to listen. And I think that teaches us presence. And I think when you have presence, you have peace. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult not to project onto what you should be doing or what you have been doing, or the conversation at the grocery store that you had that made you mad, or whatever it is. We ruminate on these things that are going on, and to find presence is challenging. But if you can do it, it'll change your life.
Absolutely. It's not impossible. It's just, it's learning it's maybe unlearning some things and learning some new things, and allowing yourself to stumble along the way, and not be afraid to try something new. That's a huge thing, I think, too, and we've experienced that ourselves, right? And we've we've become so like we're busy doers. Like, humans
Yes.
have become so crazy busy, and I mean, you would have experienced that in that city of there's
Yeah.
25 million people. Geez, that
Never
scares me.
sleep.
I'd rather 25 million birds. That'd be okay. But, you can see there's, life can become very robotic and very do, because you have to do all these things to have all these things. Oh, you'll be when you're retired. And then you see people,
Yeah.
they retire and they don't actually exist long because
Yes.
their bodies are literally done. They're like, all you did was you didn't nurture me, you didn't take care of me, you weren't listening to me, and now, well, I guess I'm going to break, because there
100%.
is no other way. And so, we're opening these doors for people to, like you said, to be raw and real and vulnerable, and find that sense of peace and ease and calm. And I love watching people have that aha moment, that little light bulb moment that goes on when they experience that, even if it's and in the beginning, it's just little bits. It's like 1 minute at a time kind of thing. And as soon as their body feels it and they start to embody it and embrace it, you just see this beautiful evolution and this change. And I don't know for you, but that fills me up unbelievably when I
Yeah.
can see that happen before my very eyes. It's this beautiful blossom,
Yes.
and it's not easy, right? Like, you and I
No.
know that we're still doing
Yes.
it,
Yes, we are.
but I think that's, that is the greatest thing that I have maybe learned even more so in the last 2.5 years, is the gift of presence, the gift of being, the gift of letting go of those things that no longer serve me, and not being afraid to do something outside of the box, outside of the norm,
Yeah.
outside of those expectations, right? It's becoming more normal to do what lights you up, what's your passion, what's your purpose, and let go of those societal expectations of everyone else, and just find yourself again, you
Yeah.
know?
I think that the magic lies outside of the box. And I think if you're someone who is struggling in any aspect of life, it might be emotional, it might be physical, it might be anything. I think
Mhm.
that that's often making you uncomfortable enough to shift, and it's asking you to look in a new direction. And
Mhm.
that's not something that is easy to do. It's
No,
I learned things very hard. I did not learn the easy way.
me too.
And so I feel like if I could help someone do it just a little bit easier, then
Yes.
I'm very grateful, honestly, for the opportunity to do that.
Yes. Yes. So, as we kind of wrap things up here, if people were looking to ask you some questions, to reach out to you and find more about your journey, and maybe ask for some help, how would they go about that? What is the best way to get in touch with you, and what does that process look like?
So you can find me through my Facebook. It's probably the best way to do it. I'll
Okay.
friend anybody, so you can just friend me myself, or you can find my business page, which is Wellness with Cheryl. And then I also have a group on Facebook that is becoming dedicated to gut health for people who are struggling with ongoing issues. And
Okay.
so you can find me in any of those places and reach out. And that's simple. You reach out to me,
Okay.
we take it from there.
Girl, that sounds beautiful. And I'll share your stuff too, so people can kind of click on that and go for that journey. And yeah, I look forward to kind of seeing your journey as it continues, and keep collaborating and connecting. And yeah, it's just, if there is one piece of advice, or one, I don't know, kind of aha moment thing that you'd love to leave people with, that would allow them that sense of peace or that sense of it's okay to ask for help? What would that look like?
I would say you're never going to hit the perfect time. You're not going to be the perfect age. You're not going to be the perfect weight. You're not going to be in the perfect health. You have to start where you are right now. And wherever that is, it is different for everybody. Start where you are, and we go from there. There is nothing to gain by staying stuck. And there's everything to gain by reaching out for help. And I always tell people, before you work with me, I do consult calls. And I always tell people, if I can help you, I will tell you. And if I cannot help you, I'm going to tell you that too. And I'm going to refer you to someone who I think can. And so don't be shy to reach out for help, because you are worth it and you can heal and you deserve to heal.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it, Cheryl. You know, I'm so grateful for this reconnection and for just this conversation. I mean, we've had another one that was a little while ago that was so profound, and and here we are today, and I've learned another 100 things, and it's just, I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful for you to, be open to that and to have this reconnection and to share this kind of part of the journey, and being vulnerable to share pieces of your life too, so people can see, like you said, you start where you're at, and it's okay to ask for help. And I agree, because I have had a hard time asking for help, and I've had to learn the hard way. And I think we all do learn the hard way. And like you said, we're creating space for people to know that it is okay. There's no judgment. There's no anything. It's just a safe, beautiful place to say, hey, I'm struggling over here, and I don't know if I can make it another day. I need help.
Yeah.
So thank you for your work and for your experience and knowledge and this beautiful space that you create for people.
Oh, thank you. It was so fun to do it. We'll have to do it again. Maybe we'll go a little deeper.
Yes. We might have to. We got lots of topics we can go on now. So anyways, I will leave all the information in the notes for this podcast, and that way people can reach out to you. And if you guys even reach out to me if you can't get through to Cheryl, and we can work whichever way works easiest. And have an amazing, amazing, phenomenal day. And hopefully the snow stops for you and you can get out and play. If not, you're having a snowball fight, I guess.
Yeah. The dog loves it, so it's all good.
Perfect. Yes. Well, thank you so much. It was awesome.
Welcome. Thank you.
That was such a great and raw and real conversation with Cheryl. So amazing touching base with someone, that we've known many years back, and making new connections, learning so many things about each other. Anyways, I'm going to put in the information for you to be able to get in touch with Cheryl and the work that she does, the Facebook group that she has. And if you want to know more about the nutritional help, healing the gut, which is our emotional brain, navigating through nature and finding your path again, any info on the cool retreats that she does, the relationship with nature and animals. Anyways, such a profound thing, so amazing. And she's way up north, quite isolated, but you know what? She can still reach us all. So if you're interested, please check out the information. If not, reach out to either one of us. And if you're interested in the intuitive, holistic, nature-based therapy that I do, using the element of nature to heal our mind, body, and spirit with Roots to Wellness, reach out to me. And I've got lots going on, lots of unique stuff. And wow, what a great day. And I'm looking forward to our next guests to come, and also to having my own conversation with you in this beautiful space. So lots of love and light to all of you, and I'm sending beautiful heart-centered energy for the month of May.